Imagine stepping out of a spacecraft. Not tomorrow, not 1,000 years from now, but 1 billion years into the future. You take one step onto the ground, expecting to see a familiar Earth. Instead, the planet beneath your feet is almost unrecognizable. The continents are different. The oceans have changed, or perhaps vanished. The air is no longer the air you remember. The sky looks strange. And somewhere above you, the sun hangs larger and brighter than the one humanity once knew. There are no cities, no highways, no radio signals, no voices calling your name. And for a moment, the most terrifying thought isn't that Earth has changed. It's that Earth may have moved on without us. So what exactly would you find if you arrived here? And could anything from our world still be alive? To understand the answer, we have to begin with the one object that controls almost everything on Earth: the sun. Right now, our sun is a relatively stable middle-aged star. It has been shining for about 4.6 billion years, and it still has billions of years ahead of it. But stars change, very slowly. So slowly that a human lifetime is almost meaningless compared with the process. Over the next billion years, the sun will gradually become brighter. The difference may sound small, but on a planet like Earth, small changes in sunlight can have enormous consequences. More sunlight means more energy entering Earth's climate system. Temperatures rise. Water evaporates more rapidly. And as the planet warms, Earth's natural carbon cycle begins to change. Eventually, plants may struggle to survive because atmospheric carbon dioxide becomes too scarce for ordinary photosynthesis. But that is only part of the story. As temperatures continue to rise, Earth's oceans would slowly begin losing water to the atmosphere. Some of that water vapor would reach the upper atmosphere, where sunlight could split its molecules apart. Hydrogen, being extremely light, could escape into space. Little by little, Earth would lose one of the most important ingredients of life: water. But what happens next? The planet would not suddenly turn into a desert overnight. This would be a slow transformation, unfolding over millions upon millions of years. And during that immense interval, life would have opportunities to adapt. Plants could evolve. Animals could evolve. Microorganisms could evolve. Entire ecosystems could appear that would be completely alien to us. Some organisms might survive in increasingly hot environments. Others might retreat underground, into deep oceans, or into regions where liquid water remains available. But eventually, the surface of Earth could become hostile to complex life. The oceans would shrink. The climate would become increasingly extreme, and the familiar green planet we know today could begin to resemble a world defined by heat, dryness, and scarcity. If you arrived after 1 billion years, you might not see forests. You might not hear birds. You might not find whales moving through enormous oceans. You might not even find the familiar animals we recognize as life. But life itself could be harder to eliminate. Microbial organisms are remarkably resilient. Some can survive radiation, intense heat, freezing temperatures, extreme pressure, and long periods without food. So perhaps, beneath the surface, hidden inside rocks and underground environments, Earth's final survivors could still be waiting. And this is where things become truly strange, because while Earth's climate is changing, the planet itself is also moving. Continents are not fixed. They drift across the surface of Earth on geological timescales. Over 1 billion years, the map of our planet could be completely transformed. Today's oceans may have disappeared. New oceans could have opened. Mountain ranges could have risen and then been worn away. Entire continents could collide, merge, and become part of enormous supercontinents. The Atlantic Ocean that exists today will not remain the same forever. Earth is not a fixed planet. It is a constantly moving puzzle. Continents shift, oceans open and disappear, and mountains rise only to be destroyed by time. Given enough time, the coastline you know today could become nothing more than a buried layer of rock beneath a completely different world. But if humans somehow survived for 1 billion years, would we even recognize ourselves? 1 billion years is far beyond anything in human history. Our species has existed for only a tiny fraction of that time, and civilization itself is just a brief moment in Earth's story. Expecting modern humans to remain unchanged for 1 billion years would be like expecting a single photograph to stay the same while an entire mountain range is being rebuilt. The truth is, humanity could disappear, or we could evolve into something completely different. Future humans might redesign their own bodies, adapt to new environments, live inside artificial habitats, or even transfer intelligence into machines. Maybe humanity would leave Earth long before it becomes uninhabitable. And if that happens, Earth may no longer be our home. It may become our birthplace, an ancient world visited by descendants who no longer belong here. Imagine a civilization arriving on Earth hundreds of millions of years after humanity left. They would not find our cities or our nations. They might only discover tiny traces hidden deep underground, a fragment of concrete, a strange synthetic material, a buried structure, a chemical signature left behind by a vanished civilization. To them, humanity would not look like a powerful species. It would look like a geological event, something that existed and then disappeared. But Earth would continue changing. The planets would keep moving. Asteroids would collide. Comets would travel through the darkness. Moons would be reshaped by time and impacts. And the sun itself would slowly become more powerful. 1 billion years is still early in the sun's life, but its increasing brightness could transform Earth forever. The oceans may vanish, the atmosphere may change, and the planet could become a world where life as we know it is impossible. But perhaps the most haunting change would be above us, the night sky. The stars we see today would no longer be in the same places. Stars move. The galaxy moves. The solar system travels through space. After 1 billion years, the constellations humans used for navigation, myths, and stories would be gone. Orion would no longer be Orion. The Big Dipper would be completely different. The sky would still be beautiful, but it would not be our sky. And then comes the biggest question. Would anyone be looking back? We know life exists on at least one planet, but we still don't know if intelligent civilizations are common or extremely rare. In 1 billion years, civilizations could rise, spread across planets, build artificial worlds, create machines that survive for millions of years, or disappear without leaving any obvious trace. Maybe somewhere in the galaxy, an intelligent species would exist without ever knowing humans were here. Or maybe intelligence itself could evolve into something so different that we would barely recognize it. Perhaps it would no longer need biological bodies. Perhaps it would live beneath alien oceans or inside enormous structures around distant stars. Or perhaps every civilization eventually reaches a point where it disappears. We simply don't know. And that uncertainty is what makes the future so fascinating. 1 billion years is not just a more advanced version of today. It is a completely different chapter of existence. The species may change. The planet may change. The continents may change. The sun may change. Even the meaning of life itself could change. So imagine standing on Earth 1 billion years later. The oceans are gone. The forests are gone. The cities are gone. Human voices are gone. The stars above you are unfamiliar. Yet beneath your feet is the same ancient planet. The same world that created dinosaurs. The same world that created forests. The same world where humans built civilizations, loved, fought, dreamed, and looked toward the sky asking, what comes next? 1 billion years later, almost everything about us may be forgotten. But maybe something will remain. Not a monument, not a name, not a photograph. Just a tiny trace written into the rocks of Earth. Proof that, for a brief moment in the enormous history of this planet, there was a species that looked into the future and wondered what it would become. Because perhaps the greatest mystery is not whether the future will remember humanity. It is this: after 1 billion years of change, would humanity even recognize the future?